Take 9.
Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock.
TikTok does two things right: human factors and psychology. Out of all the social media, it's the one brainchild of internet which truly belongs to the era of smartphones. And with the current progression of technology in this direction, smartphones are the end of the curve. Pretty much. No time sooner, smartwatches will be replacing smartphones. See, the goal of any new form factor for technology is to decrease reliance on the previous technology. Laptops make you use your desktop PCs less. Tablets so that you use your laptops even lesser. And smartphone pretty much does the essentials of all these. While smartwatches aren't really going the way they should. You can probably have a smartphone and be okay not having your laptop or tablet with you. I can't really say the same for smartwatches. I mean, they have been around for a while now and they still suck. This graph here represents the life cycle of any product. Every product eventually reaches a point of saturation where most of the people will want that product or will already have one. But for smartwatches, this curve is weird. It has a sharp peak and then it falls flat dead, which means people are quite okay with not having one. So even though the phase of life cycle for smartphones has shifted to decline, the post-smartphone era is still smartphones. That being said, we are probably going to hold on to these rectangular slabs as our major piece of technology for at least a decade, maybe more.
The whole idea to make this video the very way it is sensitively relates to the whole discussion. If you are watching this video on a laptop or a desktop, but as the data suggests, you most probably are not. So I will be quite okay with making this video as a content that is best suited for a smartphone experience. So let's get on it.
So in this first episode, this is me Prashant talking human factors and psychology of internet and smartphones. See, out of all the social media, none of them are really native to the era of smartphones, and nor is their presentation of content. Even though they have smartphone apps, barely any one of them ever shed off their web DNA. Which sucks, because the internet is more smartphone than desktops now. Out of all the social media or video consumption platforms, the app design of TikTok is the most smartphone friendly. It was a couple of weeks back I was reading this Medium article by my friend Ajinkya and his research of the UI makeover for our college app. This would give anyone quite a bit of information about app design. And that took me to the understanding of usability areas and the comfort of human use while using a smartphone. Now we as a general user would barely know about these technicalities of human factors, but unknowingly these are affecting our decisions more than we know of. Now as a human factor student, understanding the Kano model for app features made me understand one thing that none of these apps have understood yet. The comfort of use should lie below the basic element or the satisfactory factor section of the graph. But if you analyze all the apps out there, comfort of use is a delight. While the app features of TikTok lie precisely in the areas of comfortable use. And somehow or not this affects your experience without you even realizing it. Chances are, if you have ever used the app, you'd be surprised to notice how accessible all the features are. TikTok kind of nails the comfort of use game, which I feel is more dormant yet dominant reason for people to like it without them even realizing it. Now before you get into the zone TikTok is cringe, I'm not really here to discuss the contents of TikTok but to discuss the underrated aspects of its application of human factors. If you don't like TikTok, chances are you are in one of the age groups born before the late 90s, or you have been introduced to the specific contents of TikTok through certain channels, and you have never really been there. TikTok, even though has a majority of young population, there's quite a section of older people who are on TikTok now. It took me to surprise when my Masi, a certified TikTok hater, asked me to install the same on her phone. And god, it has been a week and she is hooked to the content there. So whether you agree or not, people kind of like TikTok. And this particular incident just stuck me. So I had to understand this phenomena, that why people like TikTok. The answer to this probably lies in the algorithm of TikTok and your brain's dilemma. While TikTok's algo aggressively dominates what you watch, giving you either of the two options, watch this or leave it. Unlike YouTube's feed or Instagram's explore feature, which presents you with the options to watch from and lets you choose. But TikTok's AI aggressively dictates what you watch based on what you already have. So it presents you with the most optimized content based on your watch history. A very similar example would be Netflix sorting your content based on match percentage, a feature that it already has, and then presenting them to you one by one. And why this aggressive domination is what I think has made it so successful. This would connect us to human psychology and the dilemma of human decision making. Dan Riley ran an experiment with 100 MIT students where he presented them with the options to subscription to a service. To surprise, the results of the experiment entirely change when people are presented with lesser yet simpler alternatives to choose from. As Dan Riley says in his TED Talk,
the general idea here, by the way, is that we actually don't know our preferences that well. And because we don't know our preferences that well, we're susceptible to all of these influences from the external forces, the defaults, the particular options that are presented to us, and so on.
so that's basic human psychology. The brain doesn't want to be in control. It wants to feel that it is in control of the decisions. TikTok's AI precisely does so. And so does Mubi, a Netflix rival which aggressively dictates what you watch, presenting you with one movie choice a day. Unlike Netflix, which gives you quite a lot to choose from. And there is a reason that this might be the future because of how well this aggressive domination connects to basic human psychology. Now to connect it all, let us go back to 2013 when Instagram launched the story feature, the first ever content presentation of social media native to smartphones. And if you have a smartphone, chances are you prefer sharing things in the native format. Instagram stories, WhatsApp statuses, YouTube stories, Snap stories? I don't know what they call it. Anyway, stories are overwhelmingly preferred content of choice for people who really know how to use social media. On a rational level, stories were a huge deal when they launched. While every conceivable platform tried to adopt them, but as I said, none of them ever really shed off their web DNA. Even in their most updated forms, they just feel like they're squeezed versions of their desktop formats. These, in my opinions, are the artifacts of a format that wasn't originally conceptualized for smartphones. Which makes sense because the Facebook newsfeed feature was launched a year earlier. Apple launched the first ever smartphone. Google put out the idea of YouTube way before the era of smartphones. Stories, on the other hand, were tailor-made for smartphones. They make full use of the smartphone screen without any wastage of the screen, so no more rotating your phone around and jumbling for optimal watching experience. Navigation is done by tapping and swiping, which is the most comfortable interaction on touchscreen devices. But out of all these, stories did one thing right. They opened up the world of micro and smartphone friendly content. They're short, quick, which totally connects to the psychology of instant gratification in this fast-paced society. And while all the social media platforms were too stubborn to shed off their web DNA, even knowing that the stories were going to be the primary way people share things, someone out there wasn't. And that is TikTok for you, a whole ecosystem based on the smartphone-focused experience. So whether you agree or not, the party of internet is more smartphones now. Quite clear with Netflix's upcoming 15-minute stand-up special as contents that are tailor-made for phone-first experience. While whatever your opinion on what is on TikTok and the content being posted there be, all of it depends on what you watch there. And if you are one of those to choose sites on YouTube and TikTok and say things like only TikTok is cringing and YouTube isn't, you probably know you are wrong. As the rise of platforms like Nebula, Skillshare and CuriosityStream, a place for content with specific standards is taking place, it explains why there is lesser space for quality content on YouTube too. So my aim was never to get into the discussion of contents on platforms, rather understand the perspective of human behavioralism and the era of smartphone-centric content. While stories opened up the world of smartphone-centric content, TikTok's app design and AI is a mastery in human factors and psychology. Now its success might be dependent on several other factors, but it does push the content presentation of internet to leave its web era and become more smartphone-focused. And that was a video, guys. Let me know what you think about this perspective of discussion on the future of smartphone-centric content through this case study. Till then, I'll see you in the next one.